Hey, what's going on guys? This is Matt, and today we are brewing a chocolate coffee porter. I'm really excited to get going on this brew day. I have the strike water heating up now. Also, if you like grain to glass content, make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, as there's going to be a lot more grain to glass videos coming this year. Anyway guys, we're going to jump right into the Beersmith 3 recipe notes, and then we can get right into the brew day. Next, I want to go over the Beersmith 3 recipe notes. We first designed this as a 5-gallon recipe, and then we reduced this to a 3.7-gallon recipe using the scale recipe function. For the malt bill, we use pale ale for our base malt. We use 13 ounces of chocolate malt, 8 ounces of flaked wheat for head retention and mouthfeel, and caramel 60 for flavor. We also used 1 ounce of Northern Brewer for our bittering addition. We're going to use the whole ounce. And then for our yeast, we're using Darkness from Imperial yeast. For our starter information, this is Imperial yeast, so there's really no need for a starter since they come with 200 billion yeast cells. For our water chemistry, we're leaning a little bit heavier on the sulfates to chloride to make this a little bit of a drier finish, but you can see the water chemistry on the page here. Next, we're going to jump right into the brew day. First, we got our strike water heated up, and then we double crushed our grains. Next, we measured out our water chemistry with 3.8 milliliters of lactic acid, 3.92 grams of baking soda, 3.45 grams of calcium chloride, 2.92 grams of Epsom salt, 2.91 grams of gypsum, and 0.15 grams of canning salt. After we add our salts, we dough in. After 15 minutes into our mash, we take a pH reading. This measures out to 5.4, which is our target. Throughout the mash, we stir the grain bed to hopefully help with our gravity. After a 15-minute mash and a 10-minute mash out, we lift the grain basket to drain out the wort. Next, we press our grains to get as much wort out as we can. We take a pre-boil gravity reading, which measures out to around 1050. The sample is 85 degrees, so after adjustments, it was almost on target at around 1053. After the wort hits a boil, we add 1 ounce of Northern Brewer for a bittering addition. This will be our only hop addition. With only 15 minutes left of the boil, we add 1.67 grams of Yeast beer nutrient. With 5 minutes left of the boil, we run boiling wort through the equipment to sanitize. Then after the boil is up, we turn the cold water onto our plate chiller to start chilling the wort. After the wort has been chilled to pitching temp, we aerate the wort and pitch our Darkness from Imperial. Lastly, we take an OG reading at around 1060, which is just 2 points under target. After primary fermentation with only 5 days left, we add 3 ounces of cacao nibs into the fermenter. After fermentation, our final gravity measures out to around 1018, so our ABV is just under 6%. After we rack our beer over to the keg with a low oxygen transfer method, we add our cold brew. I went with this Dunkin' cold brew, and I made a pitcher of it for around 12 hours before I planned on adding it. I was not sure how much to add, so I started out with 10 ounces of cold brew and I tried a sample. After the sample, the coffee was not very pronounced, so I added another 6 ounces, totaling to 2 cups. I thought this was a better mix. Okay, so here we are with the chocolate coffee porter. I was really excited to brew a beer like this because I've had a million of these at breweries and other family and friends who brewed these in the past, but I've never actually got around to brewing one myself. So I thought this would be fun to brew myself, and then I can know for the next time if there's anything I don't like about brewing it, or if there's any changes I want to make, I can even improve on it for next time. But yeah, I want to go over the brew day notes first, and then I can go into the tasting notes at the end of the video like I normally do. For the first thing I want to talk about is for the chocolate and the coffee notes. I didn't actually have to use like coffee and cacao nibs. I could have just used like roasted barley for coffee notes and just chocolate malt for the chocolate. Looking back on it now, I probably would do that next time. I wouldn't actually rely on actual coffee and cacao nibs for my additions. I was really nervous about cacao nibs and coffee post boil because you're open yourself up to contamination and oxidation. So I try to take steps to help avoid those things. Avoiding contamination, I wanted to make sure everything that touched the coffee has been sanitized with Star San. Even the pitcher that I used to brew the cold brew the night before, I used Star San in that. Any vessel that touched the cold brew has been sanitized with Star San. Even the containers to measure out the cacao nibs all was Star San and sanitized. So I tried to do as best as I could to help avoid contamination, and I think I did just that. I don't think this beer is contaminated. Luckily for me, I have never had a contaminated batch, knock on wood. But yeah, so I think we avoided that. As far as the amounts are concerned for the coffee and the cacao nibs, I had no idea how much to add of either of these things. I just kind of guessed. The bag of cacao nibs I bought came like with 4 ounces. I assumed that was for like a 5-gallon batch, so since it's a 3.5-gallon batch, I just reduced it to like 3 ounces. The coffee, I had no idea either. I just added 2 cups of cold brew, which looking back, I probably could have added a little bit more. Maybe the cold brew just wasn't very strong. I'm not sure. I just followed the directions on the box. But I just kind of added whatever amounts I thought was appropriate, and I kind of just went there. But yeah, that about concludes the brew day discussion. Next, we can go into aroma, mouthfeel, appearance, and what have you. So yeah, for appearance, I don't know if you could tell, but it is very dark. I would say very, very dark brown to black. If you hold it up to a light, it does have this very subtle reddish hue to it. And the head is, I would say, like a tan color. But overall appearance is pretty much what I expected. Next, we can go into aroma. So yeah, I would say it definitely has kind of like a light burnt note to it, which isn't too surprising. It definitely has a sweet smell, like a chocolate sweetness smell to it. The coffee definitely comes through. The coffee is very present in the aroma, which is good because the coffee, the smell of coffee is one of my favorite parts about coffee. So the coffee definitely comes through. I would say for hop aromas, there's not a ton here. I would say it has kind of like an earthy hop aroma, but it's very subtle. It's not overwhelming at all. Next, we can go into mouthfeel. Yeah, for the mouthfeel, I would say it's like a medium mouthfeel. It does have some adjuncts in this to help with that, but I don't think I added much to it, so it's not going to be like a full body or anything like that. But yeah, it definitely has a very pleasant mouthfeel, and I would say it's on the verge of like medium for mouthfeel. Last, we can go into flavor. So overall, I want to say that this has a sweet up front and then somewhat dry finish. Well, again, which isn't very surprising. We did lean a little bit more on the sulfates to this, so I would expect this to be a little bit drier at the finish. As far as the flavor is concerned, it does have kind of an odd tangy flavor. It's not like a citrus flavor. It's like a tang, like a citrus tang almost though. I'm not sure where that's coming from. It's either coming from the cold brew coffee or it's coming from the cacao nibs. It could be, it's one of the two, and it could probably be avoided again if we used like roasted barley instead of coffee and then chocolate malt instead of chocolate or cacao nibs. But it definitely has kind of a tang to it, which I don't think is very pleasant. It's not a great flavor, especially in a beer like this. but it's definitely something to note for the next time I choose to brew this beer. You can definitely taste the chocolate, but it's not like a Hershey's chocolate. It's kind of like a very dark, bitter chocolate. And it's mostly on the finish. You do not get much chocolate up front at all. It's definitely the aftertaste and the finish that you get this, you get like this dark, bitter chocolate flavor. And it definitely has a roasty finish as well. As far as the coffee flavor, I'm not picking it up all too much. The coffee's in the aroma for sure. The flavor, I'm not sure. You know, with the finish as well, that's the only area of this beer, or the only part of this beer where I think the coffee is gonna come through. I could be confusing like the roasty flavor or the cacao nib flavor for some coffee flavor as well. As once they're all meshed together, it's kind of hard to tell them apart, I think. But if there is any coffee flavor, it's definitely towards the finish. I probably could add like another cup of coffee to this, and it probably wouldn't bother me much. The aroma I thought is pleasant though, and I'm just gonna stick with the 2 cups for now. Who knows, maybe I might add another like 6 ounces later down the line, but right now there's only 2 cups of cold brew in this, which I think is fine. But that about covers the chocolate coffee porter. Thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. There will be more grain to glass video content coming for you this year. I also have some more educational content coming out as well pretty soon. But anyway guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.